Hey guys, Dylan Tommy here, hanging out in the green room, and I noticed it's been a while since I did a FishRoom update. Lots of changes in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and we'll cruise the tanks, and I'll show you what's going on, give you some updates. First thing I'd like to mention, just to get it right out of the way, is Mojo passed on about 2 weeks ago, and I removed a lot of the water spray, all the floating deformis, and it's allowed to have a lot more light penetration. You see this Anubias and all the baby tears are in here, really growing out fantastic after I removed a lot of that floating water spray. I've also added a little bit of moss, came out of the paludarium, and we're seeing if we can get this to grow out. But Mojo is no more, unfortunately. He was a great fish. I really enjoyed him. He actually had a lot of showtime here in Natural Aquatics, and he spent his whole life in this 10-gallon tank, this naturally planted tank, and really cool pet to keep. It's unfortunate that he's gone, but I really enjoyed him. He was a rad fish. We'll keep cruising, and there are the baby tears. When you saw him last, they were out of control, and I've actually trimmed them several times since the last time I've updated this tank. And what I do is I kind of cut the stems kind of irregular, so it doesn't look like a golf course green. I'd like to get the natural look, so a lot of the stems have been kind of cut on an angle, and they don't kind of grow up uniform. They're kind of staggered, and I think they look more natural, a little cooler like that. But this tank's doing very well. The baby tears have pretty much carpeted out. Not too sure what I'm going to do. I thought a lot of these other plants would hang tough, and they've just been overtaken by the baby tears. That's a little piece of Ludwigia kind of hanging in the mix. And it's the same thing with these crypts. I've tried to dig them out when I do some trimmings and allow their leaves to kind of come up through the surface, but they're really getting overtaken by all the baby tears in the tank. Another thing to mention is this sword shot up another runner here. You can barely see the sword because the baby tears have covered it, but it's shooting up another runner here, and I love how it's on the left hand side. I can kind of keep it over here. Last several runners have grown completely around the tank, across the face here, and I think I like it better here over on the left hand side. I'll just let these plants grow out on the vine here, and we'll keep it just like that. Madagascar lace is doing great. And if you notice, there's several more fish in this tank. I consolidated a lot of the Danios that I had down here in the 20s. I moved them up into the 55. So now you see about 8 or 9 new zebra Danios in the mix. And I think it's cool. I wasn't too sure about it in the beginning. I've always tried to keep a low stock and a low bio load in a lot of my tanks. But this 55-gallon can really handle it. In fact, I could probably add, another 10 fish to this tank very easily and keep this system balanced. But it fills it out. It truly does. These Danios are, schooling fish, and they spend a lot of time swimming in the water column up here. So it's cool. The rams most definitely have their own territories. They keep themselves down here and pretty much control this area if any other fish try to come down here. They're cichlids, so they're territorial creatures. And I noticed there's kind of a little pit where there's a rock down here, and they've been spending a lot of time in this pit. I don't know if I'll see some breeding activity or what, but I think it's a prime spot for egg scatterers to kind of get down there and protect their den. We'll keep cruising. The Commencements are still in this tank, and for a low light tank, it does very well at growing out all this thick vegetation. You see the wisteria and the deformis, and the Commencements. Check out that female with a really red belly. That's why they're pelvichromis pulcher. And I would love to see some breeding with this next generation in here, but I think these fish may go long before any breeding activity starts. They're not quite mature yet, as well as they're growing, so we'll see. I like the tank. The system's doing well. but the fish may not last too much longer in here. Well, we'll head over to the Guppy Tank because it just looks much different than it has in the past. All these baby tears, all these clippings have come out of the 55, and wherever I put them, they've really just been growing prolifically. At one point a couple of years ago, if you guys remember, if you were tuned in back then, I was growing out Rotala, and I had it in the 55, and I was spreading it around the fish room, and wherever I put it, it was just growing out for me. And it's pretty much the same thing with the baby tears now. These stem plants really growing out regardless of which tank I put them in. And it's been fun. The guppy colonies continuing to grow. I told you about my new female here. She looks like she's pregnant now. And it's a really cool system. It actually is due for a trim. I'm likely to cut back a lot of these long growing baby tears that you see here. But I've had fun playing with this tank and restabilizing it after all that blackbeard algae mess that I had maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. So the system's looking a lot better. Even the moss. But that tank is definitely due for a trim. What's going down here in these 20s has yet to be decided yet. They're pretty much plant grow out tanks, and just keeping them stable, just keeping them growing out, and they're thriving for now. They're kind of just on hold until I decide exactly what species I want to keep down here. Same thing with this tank, and I really didn't intend for it to be another plant grow out tank, but I started putting these clippings of baby tears in here, and they just took off. They are all over the place. So the only thing left in this tank are all these clippings of baby tears that I might end up sending out to people if they're interested, because I just have so many of them nowadays. And you know, just allowing them to grow out in these tanks. They're healthy stems in healthy systems. So eventually, when I want to use this tank for you know, a fish holding tank, I'll clear a lot of these stems out, and like I said, maybe send them out to you guys. You let me know if you're interested in some of the baby tear clippings, because nowadays they're, you know, all over the place in this fish room. You see them in every tank, kind of like the Rotala I was keeping back in the day. You have a quick look at the vivarium. Last time I showed it, the clovers were doing okay, and pretty much the most healthiest plant in the tank. The moss, looking okay. I would expect it to do much better. Considering changing the bulb in here, we shall see. Doing a lot of experimenting in that terrarium. Don't often keep systems like that. It's kind of a new thing for me. But the green room's looking hot. Super green tonight. And like I said, I've done a lot of changes as far as trimmings in every tank, and moving a lot of these plants around, and adding, like I said, 9 or 10 zebra danios up into this 55. Fills the tank out a little bit, and now with this baby tear carpet, really a rich system. Alright, let's keep cruising. We'll duck into the Brichardi tank real quick. I actually did a big trimming in this tank today. All these long stems of Rotala and Wisteria were pretty much right up to the surface. So I got in here today and did a big trimming. Check out some of the juveniles that are hanging out in the water column nowadays. They're right up here, making it home. Still one of my favorite tanks, just because of the amount of you know, Nolamprologus Brichardi fry. And the Julies. The Julies are cool. Quickly, we'll show you guys the paludarium. Nothing but great growth on the surface as far as the Java moss. Really like the look of it, and I'm surprised the newts aren't out. The last several days they've been climbing all over the habitat. I see them in this corner over here, I see them up on this ledge. I see the newts out exploring the terrestrial part of the habitat, and I think that's really cool. It's why I wanted to kind of keep an amphibian that could, you know, explore the terrestrial parts of the tank. I mean, they spend a lot of time down here in the water column and they feed down here, but when they're ready to explore, I really do enjoy seeing them, you know, climb up onto these ledges. They have their certain spots. One guy spends a lot of time right up here on this ledge. Another one, I'm pretty sure it's a different newt, hangs out right behind this plant under this coverage. And every time I kind of pop my head into the tank, I check certain spots to make sure they're not, you know, sitting in those areas. And they usually are, you know, and I'm just, you know, often aware that they're not in the water, but out, you know, hanging on the ledges. So it's good to know when you're working in the habitat and, you know, maintaining certain things to know where your newts are, particularly, you know, guys who climb up, you know, onto the structure itself. Really fun habitat. I've been enjoying it. It hasn't had much maintenance, as you can see. A lot of these baby tears down here, all this moss, really needs a big trimming. The system itself needs a big cleaning, in fact. And, you know, water maintenance, water change. So in the next couple of days we'll get in the paludarium and try to spice up this system a little bit. But I've been having fun with it. Really cool system. Now let's keep rolling, guys. We'll check on the Africans. Nothing's changed very much in the Mbuna tank, except for maybe their size. These guys have always been beasts, and it really hasn't changed. They've been growing out fantastic in this tank. I'll give you a side look. Get Mr. Man. You guys know he was my #1 for over a year. 14 months he was the dominant fish in the tank before the Aratus came up. And here's Vader. He's the boss man now. He runs the show and rules it. But the tank itself hasn't been very aggressive in the last several weeks. They've really all chilled out, kind of found their own zone, have their own territories, and really don't compete with each other too much. I don't see a lot of battles or, you know, too much chasing anymore. I think they've got to a point where they all have their, you know, stable territories. And this guy's still the boss. He still controls the prime locations. But, you know, the rest of these fish kind of are happy with what they got. They're locked in a glass box and they make do. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. Haven't shot a FishRoom update in a month or so. So, wanted to give you guys a look at the green room and the Africans. They're still doing their thing in here. Big old fish. Thanks for hanging, guys. I appreciate it. Tank on. Peace.